Admiral Kravtel pressed his clawed hands against the cold metal of the viewing port, watching the greatest fleet in galactic history take shape before his eyes. The Dark Sovereign commanded the center position, its massive bulk dwarfing even the largest battleships around it. Streaks of silver and black metal stretched in every direction as far as his 4 eyes could see. The Vorthan dreadnoughts hung like sleeping giants, their crimson hulls glowing with internal fires. The insectoid Zeltari had brought their hive ships, organic vessels that pulsed with bioluminescent veins. Even the proud Caraxian warrior clans had joined this crusade, their blade-shaped fighters swarming around massive carriers like angry hornets. Magnificent, Kravtel whispered to himself. 3 years of diplomatic work had brought these ancient enemies together for one purpose, to crush humanity once and for all. Commander Dexmore approached quietly, his footsteps barely audible on the polished deck. His green skin showed the ritual scars of a Nexari warrior, earned in dozens of battles across the outer rim. He carried himself with the confidence of someone who had never tasted defeat. "Admiral, the final reports are coming in from all fleet." "Commanders," Dexmore said, extending the data pad with both hands in the traditional gesture of respect. 623 ships confirmed battle-ready. The Zeltari Queen Mother sends her personal blessing for our victory. Kravtel took the pad and scrolled through the numbers. Heavy battleships, fast attack cruisers, fighter squadrons, support vessels. Everything needed to glass a dozen worlds. His mandibles clicked together in satisfaction. "And what of human resistance?" he asked. "That's the interesting part, sir. Our long-range scouts report only one vessel in this entire sector, a single destroyer designated UES Thunder. Intelligence suggests it's one of their newer ships, but still using primitive fusion drives and projectile weapons." The Admiral's 4 eyes widened before narrowing into slits of amusement. He had expected at least a token defense fleet, maybe some desperate attempt at negotiation. But one ship? Even humans weren't usually this foolish. Perhaps they've finally learned their place in the galaxy, Kravtel mused. He activated the fleet-wide communication system, his image appearing on screens across hundreds of bridges. "Warriors of the Nexari Alliance, for too long, humanity has spread like a plague across our sacred stars. They steal our resources, corrupt our trade routes, and dare to call themselves our equals." Roars of approval echoed through the communications channel. On Vorthan ships, crews beat their chests with bone clubs. The Zeltari clicked their mandibles in harmony. Even the usually stoic Caraxians let out their piercing war cries. "Today we end their expansion forever. They send one pathetic ship against our mighty armada. Let this be the final lesson to any who dare challenge the natural order of the galaxy." The cheers grew louder as thousands of alien warriors prepared for what they expected to be an easy slaughter. Some ships began playing their traditional battle songs. Others performed pre-combat rituals passed down through generations of conquest. Kravtel smiled as he closed the channel. This would be remembered as the day the human threat ended forever. Meanwhile, billions of kilometers away, Captain Lee Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of the UES Thunder, studying the tactical display with the calm focus of a chess master. The ship around him hummed with quiet efficiency. No battle songs or ritual dances, just professionals doing their jobs. Lieutenant Park Min-ho looked up from his station, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool, recycled air. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures on long-range sensors. The computer is having trouble processing the exact count, but it's definitely over 600 ships." 600, Hyun-woo repeated quietly. He had known this day would come eventually. Humanity's rapid expansion had made enemies faster than they could make friends. Still, seeing the numbers made his chest tighten. Chief Engineer Kim Jae-min's voice crackled over the intercom from the engine room. "Captain, all systems are green. The new modifications are holding steady, but we've never tested them under full combat conditions." "Understood, Chief. Keep me informed of any fluctuations." The bridge crew worked in focused silence. Unlike the alien fleet with its thousands of warriors, the Thunder carried only 43 souls. Each person knew their job perfectly because they had to. There were no backup crews, no reserves waiting in other ships. Communications Officer Lee Yun-ji suddenly straightened at her station. "Captain, incoming transmission from the enemy fleet. audio and visual. Put it through. The main screen flickered to life, showing Admiral Kravtel's alien features. His grey skin looked like weathered stone, and his 4 red eyes burned with predatory hunger. When he spoke, his voice carried the arrogance of someone who had never been challenged. Human vessel, I am Admiral Kravtel of the Nexari Empire. You are vastly outnumbered and outgunned. Surrender immediately, and your death will be swift. Resist, and we will make your final moments last for days. Captain Hyunwoo stepped forward, his hands clasped behind his back in a pose that had become legendary among human naval officers. His voice carried no fear, no uncertainty, only the quiet confidence of someone who had looked death in the face before. This is Captain Lee Hunwoo of the United Earthship Thunder. You are in violation of human space. You have 30 seconds to reverse course and withdraw, or face the consequences. The alien admiral's laughter filled the bridge, a harsh, grating sound like metal scraping against stone. 30 seconds? Human, you amuse me greatly. Your entire species will be extinct in 30 minutes. But since you provide such entertainment, I'll give you 30 seconds to watch your pathetic little ship burn. The transmission cut to black, leaving the bridge in heavy silence. Every eye turned to Captain Hyunwoo, waiting for orders that would likely be their last. The massive alien fleet began its deadly dance across the void of space. Admiral Kravtel watched from his command throne as hundreds of ships spread out, like the fingers of a giant metal hand. The Vorthan battleships took the high positions, their weapon ports glowing red-hot. The Zeltari bioships slithered through space below, their living hulls pulsing with acidic secretions. The fast Coraxian fighters buzzed around the formation's edges like metallic wasps. Beautiful, Kravtel muttered, admiring the precision of his fleet. Each captain knew their role in the encirclement. The human ship would have nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. It would be trapped like a small fish in a closing net. Commander Dexmore monitored the tactical displays, his scarred hands dancing across holographic controls. Admiral, all squadrons report ready. The human vessel remains in position. Range is now 400,000 kilometers and closing. Kravtel leaned forward in his chair, expecting to see the human ship's engine signature flare as it attempted a desperate escape. Instead, the tiny dot on his screen remained perfectly still. Are their engines damaged? Why aren't they running? Unknown, sir. Their fusion drive appears to be functioning normally, but they're maintaining position. The alien admiral felt a flicker of unease. In his 50 years of conquest, he had never seen prey that didn't at least try to flee. Even the most fanatical warriors usually attempted some kind of tactical withdrawal when faced with impossible odds. But this human ship just sat there waiting. Perhaps their captain has gone insane from fear, suggested the Zeltari Queen's voice through the biocommunication link. Her words carried the chemical scent of anticipation. Some species break mentally when faced with certain death. Or maybe they're planning something, growled the Coraxian war leader. Humans are known for their unpredictable tactics. Kravtel dismissed their concerns with a wave of his clawed hand. What could one ship possibly do against our entire fleet? Prepare the forward batteries for a demonstration. Target those asteroids near the human position. Let's show them the power they're facing. The order rippled through the fleet's communication. Networks. Massive particle beam cannons swiveled toward the asteroid field surrounding the human ship. Energy cores that could power entire cities channeled their output into weapon systems designed to crack planets. The first volley lit up space, like artificial suns. Beams of pure energy, each one capable of melting a mountain, struck the ancient space rocks. Asteroids that had drifted peacefully for millions of years instantly vaporized, leaving nothing but expanding clouds of superheated gas and glowing debris. The display of raw power was breathtaking. Chunks of molten metal spiraled through the void while electromagnetic storms crackled between the debris clouds. Several smaller asteroids caught in the blast radius shattered like glass, sending fragments spinning in all directions. Magnificent, Kravtel breathed. Surely now they understand their fate. But aboard the UES Thunder, the reaction was completely different. Chief Engineer Kim Jae-min looked up from his console with something that might have been a smile. His fingers flew across his control panel as he analyzed the energy readings. From the alien attack, Captain, they just made a critical mistake. All that vaporized rock and metal is creating a massive electromagnetic interference field. Our sensors are reading particle density levels that will completely mask our energy signature. Captain Hyunwoo studied the tactical display, watching as clouds of charged debris spread through the local space. What the aliens saw as a demonstration of overwhelming force, he saw as the perfect cover for what came next. "How long will the interference last?" he asked quietly. "At least 3 hours, sir. Maybe longer if we position ourselves correctly within the densest part of the cloud." Hyunwoo nodded slowly. "Signal all stations. Prepare for Ghost Protocol activation." The order passed through the ship like electricity. In the engine room, Kim Jae-min's hands moved across controls that had been installed just weeks before launch. In the weapons bay, Lieutenant Commander Cho So-young powered up systems that existed in no official Navy manual. On the bridge, every officer checked equipment that had never been tested in real combat. "Ghost Protocol standing by," reported Communications Officer Lee Yoon-ji. "All departments confirm ready status." "Engineering reports all systems nominal," added Kim Jae-min's voice through the intercom. "The new power distribution network is holding steady." Captain Hyunwoo took a deep breath. What happened next would either save humanity or doom them all. Activate Ghost Protocol, full stealth mode. The transformation was invisible to the human eye, but devastating to every sensor system in the Nexari fleet. The Thunder's hull began, absorbing electromagnetic radiation instead of reflecting it. Its heat signature vanished as thermal dampeners routed engine output through specialized cooling systems. Even its gravitational footprint disappeared as experimental field generators bent space-time around the ship's mass. Within 30 seconds, the UES Thunder had become a ghost. Admiral Kravtel was studying casualty reports from the asteroid. Bombardment when his sensor operator's panicked voice cut through the bridge chatter. "Sir, the human ship is gone." "What do you mean gone?" Kravtel snapped. "I mean it's not there anymore, sir. One moment it was on sensors, the next moment nothing." The alien admiral rushed to the sensor station, his 4 eyes scanning the displays frantically. Where the human ship had been, there was only empty space and drifting debris. "Run a full spectrum sweep. Check for engine signatures, heat bloom, anything." "Already trying, sir. All bands show negative. It's like the ship just vanished into thin air." Across the fleet, similar scenes played out on hundreds of bridges. Sensor operators recalibrated their equipment, while tactical officers ran emergency diagnostics. The Zeltari bioships extended their organic sensing tendrils, tasting space for any trace of the missing prey. Even the Caraxian fighters spread out in search patterns, their pilots' enhanced senses straining to detect the slightest anomaly. But the Thunder had become truly invisible. Deep within the debris field, Captain Hyunwoo watched the alien fleet's confused movements on his tactical display. Their ships wandered through space like blind giants, searching for an enemy that floated mere kilometers away. "Ghost Protocol is functioning perfectly, Captain," reported Lieutenant Commander Cho So-young from her weapons station. "All stealth. Systems operating within normal parameters. The enemy has no idea where we are." She paused, her fingers hovering over a set of controls that glowed with soft blue light. "Quantum phase torpedoes armed and ready. We have clear firing solutions on 12 enemy vessels." Hyunwoo studied the tactical readout. The aliens had made another mistake by spreading their formation wide during the search. Several ships had isolated themselves from the main fleet, making them perfect targets for what came next. "Select the largest ship in firing range," he ordered quietly. "Let's introduce them to human ingenuity." The massive Nexari fleet spread across the asteroid field like a swarm of angry insects, their searchlights cutting through the darkness. 600 ships moved in coordinated search patterns, scanning every rock, every piece of debris, every shadow where a ship might hide. But they found nothing except the cold emptiness of space. Admiral Kravtel paced back and forth on his bridge, his 4 eyes burning with frustration. His clawed hands clenched and unclenched as he watched the tactical display. "This defies all logic," he roared, striking his command console hard enough to crack the metal surface. "Ships don't just vanish into thin air. Physics doesn't work that way." Commander Dexmore hunched over the sensor station, sweat dripping down his green skin. Despite the cool bridge temperature, "Sir, we've scanned this entire sector 3 times. Every ship in the fleet is reporting negative contact. It's like the human vessel never existed. Maybe they jumped to hyperspace, suggested the tactical officer, though his voice carried no conviction. Impossible, Kravtel snapped. Our gravity sensors would have detected the space-time distortion. No ship can enter hyperspace without leaving a signature. The Zeltari Queen's bioship extended massive organic tendrils into space, each one the size of a skyscraper. Her chemical sensors could detect a single drop of fuel exhaust from 1,000,000 kilometers away. But even her enhanced senses found nothing. The prey has vanished, her voice whispered through the biocommunication link, carrying undertones of confusion and growing fear. This is not natural. Something is wrong. Meanwhile, just 2 kilometers away from Kravtel's flagship, the UES Thunder drifted silently between two asteroid giants. The massive Space Rocks, each one the size of a small moon, provided perfect cover for the invisible human ship. Captain Hyunwoo stood motionless on his bridge, watching the alien fleet's desperate search with cold satisfaction. Lieutenant Park Min-ho's eyes never left his targeting computer. Years of academy training had taught him to track multiple targets simultaneously, and right now he was following 17 different alien ships. His fingers danced across the holographic controls as he calculated firing solutions. Contact designated Alpha 7 is maintaining position 300 kilometers to starboard, he reported quietly. Heavy cruiser class, approximately 800 crew members. She's moved away from the main formation to investigate some debris. Through the main view screen, they could see the alien ship clearly. The Bloodfang was a massive Nexari war vessel, its hull covered in weapon ports and sensor arrays. Crimson lights pulsed along its sides as it searched for the missing human ship. The cruiser was easily 5 times larger than the Thunder, with enough firepower to level a city. Perfect target, murmured Lieutenant Commander Cho So-young from her weapons station. Her hands hovered over controls that glowed with soft blue light. Quantum phase torpedo loaded and ready, firing solution locked. Captain Hyunwoo studied the tactical display one more time. The alien ship was isolated, far enough from the main fleet that its destruction wouldn't immediately endanger his crew. More importantly, it would send a message that would shake the enemy's confidence to its core. Fire, he commanded. What happened next would have been impossible to explain to any alien scientist. The quantum phase torpedo didn't launch in the traditional sense. Instead, it existed in a state of quantum uncertainty until the moment of impact. 1 second it was in the Thunder's launch tube. The next second it materialized directly inside the enemy ship's reactor core. The Bloodfang exploded from the inside out. Its massive hull split apart like a cracked egg as the reactor detonated, sending waves of superheated plasma in all directions. Debris scattered across thousands of kilometers, while the ship's death scream echoed through subspace communication channels. The shockwave reached the Nexari flagship within seconds. Admiral Kravtel was thrown from his feet as his ship rocked violently. Emergency lights bathed the bridge in hellish red as damage reports flooded in from across the fleet. "Report!" Kravtel shouted as he pulled himself back to his command chair. "The Bloodfang is gone, sir," his tactical officer replied, terror evident in his voice. "Complete destruction. No survivors." "What hit them? Energy beam? Missile strike?" "That's just it, sir. Our sensors detected no incoming weapons fire. No energy signatures, nothing. The ship just exploded." Before Kravtel could respond, another flash lit up the view screen. A Vorthan battleship, the Iron Destroyer, erupted in flames as a second quantum torpedo found its mark. Then another explosion, and another. Each blast was perfectly silent in the vacuum of space, but the light from the dying ships painted the asteroid field in colors of death and destruction. Chief Petty Officer Yoon Da-hai monitored the enemy communication channels from her station aboard the Thunder. Her headphones filled with panicked alien voices, speaking in a dozen different languages. She quickly activated the translation software and began feeding reports to her captain. "Sir, they're in complete chaos. I'm intercepting emergency broadcasts. From across the fleet, multiple ships are requesting permission to withdraw immediately." Through the speakers, They could hear Admiral Kravtel's furious response echoing across the alien fleet's communication network. "No ship leaves this sector. I don't care if you're facing invisible demons. We came here to crush humanity, and that's exactly what we're going to do." But his words couldn't hide the fear creeping into his voice. In 20 minutes of combat, he had lost 4 major warships without landing a single blow on the enemy. His crews were starting to whisper about ghosts and space demons. Engineer Kim Jae-min's voice crackled through the Thunder's internal communication system from the engine room. "Captain, power levels are holding steady. The stealth systems are working perfectly, and I can maintain current operations for at least 6 more hours." He paused, and when he spoke again, there was a grim smile in his voice. "Their arrogance brought them here, sir. Now it's going to get them all killed." The Thunder continued its deadly work, moving through the asteroid field like a shark among minnows. Each attack was precisely calculated, each target carefully chosen for maximum psychological impact. The alien fleet had come expecting easy prey, but instead they found themselves being systematically hunted by an enemy they couldn't see, couldn't track, and couldn't fight. The hunters had indeed become the hunted, and the human ship was just getting started. The battlefield had become a graveyard of twisted metal and burning plasma. 47 alien warships floated as dead hulks among the asteroids, their crews either vaporized or slowly dying in the cold vacuum of space. What had started as the most powerful invasion fleet in galactic history was now a scattered collection of terrified survivors shooting at shadows. Admiral Kravtel's flagship rocked violently as another nearby explosion sent debris crashing into their hull. The bridge lights flickered on and off while sparks showered from damaged control panels. His once pristine command center now looked like a war zone, with injured officers bleeding green ichor onto the deck plates. "Sir, the entire 3rd Squadron is gone," screamed his communications officer, her voice barely audible over the wailing alarms. 43 ships destroyed in the last hour alone." "The Stormbreaker reports massive hull breaches," added another officer. "They're requesting immediate evacuation support." Before Kravtel could respond, the view screen lit up with another massive explosion. The Vorthan super dreadnought World Ender split in half, its kilometer-long hull folding like paper as internal explosions tore through every deck. Escape pods launched in all directions like frightened insects fleeing a burning nest. "Another explosion in Sector 7, shouted the tactical officer. "That's the Bone Crusher. She's breaking apart." Admiral Kravtel slammed his fists on his command chair, his 4 eyes blazing with a mixture of rage and growing terror. In 50 years of conquest, he had never seen anything like this. Ships didn't just explode without warning. Enemies didn't remain invisible for hours while systematically destroying entire fleets. "How is one ship doing this to us?" he roared at his crew. "How is this possible?" None of his officers had an answer. They were all trained warriors, veterans of dozens of campaigns, but they had never faced an enemy like this. The human ship struck from nowhere, killed without mercy, and vanished before anyone could even locate it. Deep within the asteroid field, the UES Thunder drifted between 2 massive space rocks, completely hidden from the panicking alien fleet. Lieutenant Commander Cho So-young worked at her weapons station, with the calm precision of a master craftsman. Her fingers danced across holographic controls as she tracked multiple targets simultaneously. "I've got a perfect shot on 5 enemy vessels," she reported to Captain Hyunwoo. "They've clustered together near that large asteroid, probably thinking, it will provide cover." She smiled grimly as she armed the ship's most devastating weapon configuration. Loading spread pattern Delta, 5 quantum phase torpedoes, each one programmed for a different target. The beauty of the quantum torpedoes was their complete unpredictability. They existed in a state of quantum superposition until the moment they chose to materialize. No shield could stop them because they appeared inside the target's hull. No sensor could detect them because they technically didn't exist until impact. "Fire when ready," Captain Hyunwoo commanded. The 5 torpedoes launched simultaneously, though launch was the wrong word. They simply ceased to exist aboard the Thunder and chose to exist inside 5 different alien ships. The Zeltari biocruiser, Living Death, was the first to die, its organic hull rupturing like a burst balloon. As the torpedo detonated inside its brain chamber, the Coraxian fighter carrier, Swift Strike, followed seconds later, its ammunition bays exploding in a chain reaction that destroyed half its fighter complement. The remaining 3 ships died in perfect synchronization, their nuclear reactors overloading simultaneously. The combined explosion was so bright it briefly outshone the local star, casting long shadows across the asteroid field. The shockwave reached the main alien fleet within minutes, rocking ships and shattering viewports. Communications officer Lee Yun-ji monitored the enemy transmissions with professional detachment, though she couldn't hide her satisfaction at the panic in the alien voices. "Captain, I'm intercepting desperate emergency broadcasts. At least 30 ships are requesting permission to retreat immediately." She adjusted her headset and filtered through the chaos of alien languages. "The Vorthan battle group is reporting massive casualties. The Zeltari Queen is demanding an immediate withdrawal. Even the Coraxian war leaders are questioning the wisdom of continuing this assault." Captain Hyun-woo studied the tactical display, watching as the once mighty alien formation completely collapsed. Ships that had maintained perfect military precision just hours ago now fled in random directions, their crews too terrified to maintain formation discipline. "How many ships have we destroyed?" he asked quietly. Lieutenant Park Min-ho checked his targeting computer. "Confirmed kills stand at 51 major vessels, sir. That includes 4 super dreadnoughts, 12 heavy cruisers, and 35 support ships. We estimate casualties at over 40,000 enemy personnel." The numbers were staggering. In 6 hours of combat, a single human destroyer had accomplished what should have been impossible. They had faced the largest invasion fleet in galactic history and were systematically destroying it. "Sir," Lee Yun-ji interrupted, "I'm detecting massive engine signatures. Multiple ships are breaking formation and heading for the system edge. They're trying to escape to hyperspace." Captain Hyun-woo considered this development. Part of him wanted to pursue the fleeing ships, to make sure none of them survived to report back to their homeworlds. But a larger part of him recognized the strategic value of letting some ships escape. "Let them run," he decided, "but continue targeting any ship that maintains an aggressive posture or attempts to regroup for another attack." Engineer Kim Jae-min's voice crackled through the intercom. From the engine room, "Captain, stealth systems are still functioning perfectly. I can maintain Ghost Protocol for at least another 4 hours. Power levels are steady, and the quantum torpedo magazines are still 60% full." The Thunder continued its deadly work, using the asteroid field's natural gravity wells to slingshot around massive rocks and attack from impossible angles. The aliens had no defense against an enemy they couldn't see or predict. Their superior numbers meant nothing when they couldn't coordinate their attacks. Each strike was more devastating than the last. The Thunder would appear just long enough to launch its torpedoes, then vanish again before the enemy could respond. It was like watching a master predator hunt a herd of confused prey animals. The alien fleet had come to this system with dreams of conquest and glory. They had expected to face desperate human defenders who would break and run at the first sign of superior force. Instead, they found themselves being hunted by something that fought with cold, calculated precision. The hunters had become the hunted, and the hunt was far from over. The 8th hour of battle brought an eerie silence to the asteroid field, where once hundreds of alien warships had prowled through space like metallic predators. Now only twisted wreckage drifted among the ancient rocks. Pieces of hull plating spun slowly in the void, their surfaces still glowing red-hot from the explosions that had torn them apart. Admiral Kravtel stood alone on his bridge, surrounded by the bodies of his fallen crew. The Dark Sovereign's once magnificent command center was now a monument to defeat. Sparks showered from severed power cables, while emergency lighting cast everything in a hellish red glow. Half the control stations were dead, their screens cracked and dark. Commander Dexmore pulled himself up from where he had been thrown during the last explosion. Green blood seeped from a gash across his forehead, and his left arm hung useless at his side. He limped toward his admiral, each step leaving a trail of alien blood on the deck plates. "Sir," his voice came out as barely a whisper, hoarse from breathing the acrid smoke that filled the bridge. "We've lost contact with all remaining ships except the Pain Bringer and the Death's Edge. Both are reporting critical damage and requesting immediate evacuation." Kravtel's four eyes stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Where the screen had once shown 623 proud warships in perfect formation, now it displayed only 12 flickering contacts. 12 ships out of the greatest fleet ever assembled. The mathematics of defeat were too terrible to comprehend. "Permission to signal a general retreat, sir?" Dexmore asked, though they both knew it was already too late for most of their forces. "Never," Kravtil snarled, though the word came out broken and desperate. His clawed hands gripped the armrest of his command chair until the metal bent under the pressure. "We came here to crush humanity. We'll find that cursed ship and tear it apart with our bare hands if we have to." But even as he spoke the words, he knew they were empty threats. Whatever impossible technology the humans possessed had turned his unstoppable armada into floating scrap metal. His dreams of conquest had become a nightmare of survival. His defiant words were cut short as another brilliant explosion lit up the main view screen. The Pain Bringer, a massive Caraxian battlecruiser, simply vanished in a ball of white-hot plasma. The shockwave reached them seconds later, throwing both aliens to the deck as their flagship shuddered under the impact. When Kravtel pulled himself back to his feet, the tactical display showed only one other contact besides his own ship. The Death's Edge was gone, leaving the Dark Sovereign completely alone in the graveyard of his fleet. Then something impossible happened. The human ship materialized directly in front of them, dropping its cloak like a predator finally revealing itself to cornered prey. The UES Thunder hung motionless against the starfield, its sleek hull gleaming with reflected starlight. It was smaller than even Kravtel's escort frigates, yet this tiny vessel had single-handedly destroyed the most powerful military force. In galactic history, the main communication screen flickered to life, showing the face of Captain Lee Hyunwoo. The human looked exactly as he had 8 hours ago, calm, determined, and completely unshaken by the carnage he had unleashed. His dark eyes held no mercy, no doubt, only the cold certainty of someone who had accomplished exactly what he set out to do. "Admiral Kravtel," the human captain said, his voice carrying clearly across the bridge despite all the damaged equipment. "I believe we had an agreement. I gave you 30 seconds to withdraw from human space. That was 8 hours ago." Kravtil tried to speak, but found his throat too dry to form words. The magnitude of his defeat was crushing down on him like the gravity of a collapsed star. "I'm offering you the same choice you gave us," Captain Hyunwoo continued with the same deadly calm he had maintained throughout the battle. "Surrender your ship and leave human space immediately, or join the rest of your fleet." The alien admiral looked around his ruined bridge, then back at the tactical display that showed the full scope of the disaster. 611 ships destroyed, tens of thousands of his warriors dead. The combined military might of 9 species reduced to floating debris in just 8 hours. "How?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. "How did you do this? One ship against our entire armada. It's impossible." Captain Hyunwoo's expression didn't change. "You made the same mistake that every enemy of humanity makes, Admiral. You looked at us and saw weakness. You saw one ship and assumed we were defeated before the battle even began." He leaned forward slightly, and for the first time Kravtel saw something truly terrifying in the human's eyes. Not anger, not hatred, but the absolute certainty of a species that refused to be conquered. "You forgot that humans don't surrender. We don't give up. And when our survival is at stake, we don't fight fair. We fight to win, no matter the odds." From somewhere off-screen, Lieutenant Park Min-ho's voice carried clearly through the communication channel. "Captain, quantum torpedoes locked and ready. We have a clean shot." The words hit Admiral Kravtel like physical blows. Even now, even after destroying his entire fleet, the humans were prepared to finish the job. There would be no mercy, no negotiation, no second chances. His shoulders sagged as the weight of absolute defeat finally broke his spirit. I surrender." "Smart choice," Captain Hyunwoo replied without emotion. "Now, listen carefully, Admiral. You're going to limp back to whatever hole you crawled out of, and you're going to tell every species in this galaxy exactly What happened here today? The human captain's voice grew harder, carrying the authority of someone who had just proven that humanity would not be pushed around. Tell them that we will not be conquered. Tell them we will not be enslaved. Tell them we will not be destroyed. Most importantly, tell them that humanity is not prey. We are predators, and this is our space. The communication screen went dark, leaving Kravtel alone with the ruins of his ambitions. Through the viewports, he could see the thunder turning away, already beginning to fade from his senses as it reactivated its cloaking systems. As the Dark Sovereign limped toward the edge of the system on damaged engines, Admiral Kravtel took one last look at the debris field that had once been the pride of the Nexari Empire. The lesson was clear and written in twisted metal across the void. Underestimating humanity was a fatal mistake. The lone human ship had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious, proving once again that some battles are won not by superior numbers, but by superior will. The end.